Hello, hello, party people. Today I will be going over some Facebook Marketplace frequently asked questions. These have been compiled from an Instagram story that I ran a while ago, as well as my DMs recently. So let's jump in. Usually when people are first starting, this is a question I get often. Do you use your personal page or a business page? I have been using my personal page on Facebook Marketplace. I've done probably over 1,000 sales at this point. It doesn't give you a very accurate number anywhere, but lots of sales, over 500 reviews. I think people like to see your personal page. They know that you are a real person and that you're not a scammer. And this kind of goes hand in hand. This next question, does your Facebook account need to be public to get views? No, it does not. I have my Facebook lockdown super private. So if you are not friends with me and you go to my Facebook page, you can see my profile photo, my name. You can see that I joined in September 2009, and that is all. But I'm still getting like over 1,000 views a day on Facebook Marketplace. So your page does not need to be public. It can be private and you can still get views. And I do think that buyers do appreciate personal pages, especially if you are just reselling. However, if you get to a point where you are creating your own product and selling that, maybe a business page would be better for you. But using your personal page is fine. Low barriers to entry if you're just getting started. So start there, see how it goes for you. Next, do you hide listings from your friends? So up until a couple months ago, I did not. There's a little setting you can toggle either on each post or in the marketplace settings. And I was not hiding listings from friends, but then every once in a while, I would run into someone that I hadn't seen in a while and they would say, "Oh, I've seen that you're doing a lot on Facebook Marketplace." And I'd be like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And they would say, "Well, your items show up in my newsfeed." And I was like, "Oh, that's embarrassing." Because these people saying this were like people I haven't seen in forever, like a guy I had gone on a Tinder date with like over a year ago. Or like my aunts would comment on them and be like, "What size is this?" Even though I had the size clearly listed. So I thought about it for a while. I was not making any sales to these people. So I was like, they don't need to see my items. So I hid the listings from them. I did not see any change in total views or total sales. And then it gives me some peace of mind that, the people I went to camp with 8 years ago or my ex-boyfriend's mom, they're not seeing what I'm selling on Facebook Marketplace. They don't really need to. And there's so many people out there in the world to buy my items that I'm doing fine. So that's just a personal thing. You can do it if you want or not. It doesn't really make much of a difference. It's just what you personally want to do. Next, do I share to any groups? So I've joined various groups. Early on, I was in all of the local community swap groups for my area. And when this was before Facebook had shipping, I would post in those groups with everything and I would do a lot of local meetups. However, as time went on, I was like, I actually hate doing local meetups now. Usually they're not worth my time unless people are buying multiple things or they're buying something that's really expensive. Then I'll do them, but most of the time I don't like doing that. So I don't post in those local groups anymore unless it's something big and bulky like furniture, or sometimes my parents want me to list stuff. But I don't list in the local groups anymore. I did join a couple like Patagonia, Lululemon, brand specific buy sell trade groups, and I didn't see a ton of success in those personally. Maybe the groups that I joined were just so big that it wasn't really worth it. That's just a personal thing. So I don't list in those groups. I still get plenty of views. I still make tons of sales, but that's something you can definitely play around with if you're trying to make more sales and you sell in those specific categories very often. Those groups are very easy to join. Just search like Anthropology buy sell trade group on Facebook Marketplace and tons will pop up. Next, do you have people trying to scam you often? I would say no, not often. I do occasionally have people trying to scam me. and they'll say, I'm interested in your item. And I'll say, okay, just click the buy now button and you can fill out your information. And they'll say, can I get your phone number? That is a red flag. No one on Facebook needs your phone number. And if they ask for it, they are likely trying to scam you. Most times, once they get your phone number, then they do some Google verification and they say, okay, I just sent a PIN to your cell phone. Let me know what that number is. Don't do that. You've already gone too far. So don't do that. Occasionally, if you're selling something locally and someone says, what's your phone number? If you go to their Facebook profile and they are very clearly like a grandmother and all their posts are, I love my grandkids, and it's very likely that they just do not have a cell phone to contact you when you meet up in person, then you can consider it on a case-by-case basis. If you just want a very like broad rule of thumb, don't give out your phone number. So I think at this point, now that I have so many reviews, scammers can look at my page and say, it's probably not worth it trying to scam this person with over 500 reviews because she knows what she's doing. But if you don't have many reviews, I think you're probably going to get those more often. So just be careful. Don't give out your information. I know some people will like reply back and forth with them and be like, yeah, my number is this. And they'll send like the local like FBI investigation number. I just don't engage with them. Sometimes I will reply like, oh, I prefer to keep our communication through Facebook. And if they have a problem with that, then that's on them and just move on with your life. Don't respond. Hand in hand with that, I have people asking me about like, oh, this person wants to pay through Venmo or PayPal or Zelle, and they say, I don't know if this is a scam. A lot of those sites now have some form of protection, PayPal and Venmo especially. But some of them, once they send you the money, there's no way for them to get it back. Sometimes there is, sometimes they can claim fraud. So most of those people, I just tell them I'd prefer to keep the transaction through Facebook. And if they have a problem with that, I move on. Sometimes if I know them or if we have like a mutual friend on Facebook, then I'm like, okay, you're not trying to scam me, or it's very unlikely. But for me, it also takes more time out of my day to, do the transaction off of Facebook, and then I have to go into pirate ship and print the label and then upload tracking to that person. It's just more steps involved. So I usually just steer clear of that. I tell them I'd prefer to keep it through Facebook Marketplace. And if they are weary of that, of giving Facebook their information, I tell them that Facebook offers buyer protection. So if for some reason the package never arrives, they can get a full refund. Sometimes that uses their mind. Some of them are still the world is out to get me, and I just move on. Next, how do I avoid bad buyers who are trying to get things for free? So occasionally I'll have people message me and they'll say, I'm a teacher in a low-income area and my students really need coats this winter. And I read these messages and I'm like, why are you contacting me? I don't have a single child's coat for sale. I have maybe 10 children's items for sale out of like 450. I usually just don't engage with these people. I don't respond to their message. Sometimes they say, oh, I'm making a t-shirt quote for a charity auction. Can you lower the price on a bunch of stuff for me? And I don't respond because there are going to be better ways for them to get what they're looking for, cheaper ways than buying it from a stranger on Facebook Marketplace. And I am not at a point in my business where I am willing to give things away for free, because I am trying to grow my business and I am running an actual business here. So that's not something I do at this time. I don't give things away for free, and I don't respond to these people. And normally they don't send any follow-up messages. And I wouldn't say I get these very often either. So save your time. Just don't respond to these people. Just don't engage scammers or people trying to get things for free. Next, here is the big question I get all the time. Myself and others constantly get 0 views on there. Any tips? Yes, so many tips that I made an entire video for this. If you go on my page, it's the very first video that I listed, and Yeah, I have a lot of tips there. Long story short, you're going to need to list a lot of stuff. You're going to need to be consistent about it. You're going to need to think about what time of day you're listing, and you're going to need to do things to get your posts seen once they have been listed for a while. So yeah, go watch that video. Get me some more view hours so I can get monetized here. Next, how long/short are your titles? So this was submitted last week when the whole Poshmark debacle was going on about how on Poshmark search, people were getting better results with short titles. On Facebook, you want a long title. You want a ton of words in the title so that people can find it. So for this Patagonia, I would list this as Patagonia women's green, blue, color block, cinchilla, snap tee, fleece, pullover, medium. That's like 9 words. And then if someone is searching on Facebook, Patagonia, cinchilla, women's blue, my listing will show up. If they're searching Patagonia, color block, green, medium, my listing will show up. So there's more like possible words that they could search where my listing will show up. And that's been very helpful for me. So my general formula is brand, gender, so men's or women's. If it's unisex, I'll usually just leave that out. Some sort of color, or if there's a pattern, so maybe that's floral, color block, striped, whatever. If there's an actual name for the item that you know, this is the cinchilla snap tee. Any other words that people might be listing? So I know fleece is a popular search term for this, or quarter snap. I use that a lot too. And then size. So that's kind of long, but that's what I'm doing on Facebook right now. That's what works for me. So test it out. I would put a lot of words in your title. Next, when people offer a price less than listed through Messenger, do you just edit the listing and hope they buy it before someone else? So if this happens, if I have this listed for 60 and someone messages me, hey, will you take 50 for this? I respond to them, yes, I can do that. And one thing that I really like about Facebook Marketplace is that you can have offers turned on for your listings. I highly recommend that if you aren't doing it. Have offers turned on, and then you can set a base or minimum offer that you would accept. So if 50 is within my range of offers that I would accept for this, I message the buyer back, yep, I can do that. You can either submit 50 using the offer button on the post and I will accept it, or you can let me know when you're ready to purchase and I will drop the price for you. So that way you don't run into the thing of, oh, I edited the price for you, and then the buyer responds, oh, I actually don't get paid until Friday, which is 4 days away. Can you hold it until then? You want to avoid that. So put the ball back in their court. They can use the offer button, or they can say, yes, I'm ready to purchase now, and you can go in and edit the price. When you do edit something on the listing, Facebook reviews it again. So if I were to go drop the price on this from 60 to 50, it'll take a couple minutes to show up. So I let the buyer know I just edited the price. Facebook has to review the listing again. It should take a couple minutes for the price to show up correctly on your end. So then, 5 minutes later, I check the post and I say, okay, it looks good. You can click the buy now button and get $50, which we agreed on. And then hand in hand with that, how do you deal with low offers? So that offer range that Facebook allows, the default they have it set on is 50% off. I usually change that. I usually make it smaller than that. I've seen some people offer advice where they say, oh, if you list an item for $50, turn on offers and set the minimum to $49. Don't do that. That does not help anyone. That only drives it drives buyers crazy if you're not really willing to accept offers, but you have that turned on. So I set it to something where I would automatically be like, yeah, I'll accept that price. So if I start this at 60 and I say my minimum offer is 50, because I've sold a lot of Patagonia, I know what it goes for. And then let's say it's a few weeks down the road and it's getting warmer out, people aren't really buying them as often as they were. Then if someone messages me and says, will you do 45? Then I can say, yes, let me go update the post, and I change that minimum offer level to 45 and tell them they can use the offer button then. But if a buyer sees that you allow offers on this and they go in and submit $30, that's out of my range, they're going to see a little pop-up that says something like, sorry, this offer is not allowed or something. And then they can resubmit. Maybe then they try 35 and it still says no, and then they try 40, and they can keep going until they hit that actual level. Or maybe they just say to themselves, no, I wouldn't want to pay more than $30, and then they leave. You've wasted no time at all. You did not have to talk to that buyer at all. So definitely turn on offers for your listings. I highly recommend it. Next, how do you figure out prices? So one reason that I think I'm so successful on Facebook compared to other sites is that I make my prices lower on Facebook because the fees are so much less. They're only 5% compared to 20% on Poshmark. So if I were to list this on Facebook, and let's say I want to start it at 60, so I have some room for offers. If I were to list it on Poshmark, I would start it at 85. And that is a big jump, but I know that on Poshmark, I'm going to have an automatic offer sent out to the buyer, and then Poshmark's also going to take 20%. So if I'm wanting to get close to that, $50 to $60 that I'm wanting at the end of the day, I have to list it at 85. And I think a lot of the people who are wanting to shop online for a lot of the stuff that I sell, a lot of like bread and butter mall brands, they're looking for a good deal. So if someone really wants this color combination, they're probably going to search it on Poshmark and get an idea of what the prices are. And then, they may also go look on Mercari, eBay, Facebook Marketplace. And I am totally willing to be the lowest priced option out there for certain things because I would rather have my money now instead of holding on to items forever. That's just me. You do you. That's what's worked for me. And certain things I don't just price them super low. Patagonia, I know what they go for. I'm not going to list them at $30. In fact, I'm willing to pay $30 for most that I source, and then sell them for $60 or more. So that's one thing I do. I price my Facebook listings lower than other reselling platforms. Also, I will search comps on Poshmark for items, and then I'll look at that, subtract 20%, and be like, okay, the seller ultimately got $40 on this item. I'll list it for $45 on Facebook, and then I have some room for negotiation. They're still getting a better deal than they would have got on Poshmark. So I will check comps on other sites. I don't really use Facebook right now to check comps for anything. I mostly use Poshmark just because it's easy. Next, how do you keep track of everything for taxes? When do you need to start tracking? So I'm not any sort of accountant or financial advisor, but this is my 2 cents. You should probably start tracking once you start buying stuff to resell specifically. If you're just dabbling and selling your own things occasionally, you probably don't really need to track. At this point, the selling platforms have to send you a tax form if you do more than $600 in sales. But if you just occasionally sell oh, here's a pair of Nike shorts, $10 on Facebook, you're going to have to sell a lot of personal items to get to that level, unless you're selling, designer items or you have a ton of Patagonia, Lululemon. So I say once you decide you actually want to start reselling and you start putting money into your business, that's when you should start tracking. It also really helps you to reflect on, okay, I bought this at the bins, it was really cheap, but it sat for a year and I only profited $2. So it helps you reflect on, is that worth it? Should I pick it up again? I right now use a spreadsheet from Not Your Dad's CPA. It's a free Google spreadsheet. You enter the item. So Patagonia, green, blue, cinchilla, women's medium. I keep using this in my examples. Date purchased, February 2nd. And then when you sell it, you put the platform, the date sold, and how much money. Oh, also you put in how much you paid for the item. And then it automatically calculates your profit for that item. It puts it into a nice chart telling you your total for the month, your profit margins. So highly recommend that. I'll try to link that in the comments, in the description, if I'm able to find it. Next, what keywords do you use for listings for visibility? Like I said with this, I use a ton of keywords. If I use a lot of material keywords, so like this fleece, but also wool or cashmere, those are good. I don't use anything like cotton, nylon, polyester, just because those are so common that I don't think buyers are searching for them as often. And then if anything is trendy, like I'll use that word. If I ever use the keyword vintage, I put that first, even before the brand, because a lot of people when searching for vintage items, they don't necessarily care about the brand or even know what brands are out there. They just care that it's vintage, so I'll put that first. Other keywords that I've used recently, grandpa sweater, I sold a couple things with that. They went super fast. Granny core, kind of like the opposite to grandpa sweater, that worked really well for me. So I say keep track of trends, and then when you're sourcing those things, use those trend words in your titles. How do you use Facebook Marketplace to source? So there are a couple different ways you can go about this. You can source where you buy stuff and have it shipped, or you can source locally. And I love using it to source locally because there's much less competition than items that are listed with shipping. So you can set up, your distance that you're willing to travel. And then once you search on Facebook Marketplace, like Patagonia women's jacket, then when you open the app or the website next, in that like top picks section, it will show you a bunch of like Patagonia stuff. Or if you often search Lululemon, it will show you a bunch of that stuff. So Facebook is trying to help you. And so oftentimes I'll search and then I'll sort it to local, most recently listed, to kind of see what is out there that people haven't really looked at too often. So that's been very helpful. And then I really don't like meeting people, so I don't use it a ton for local meetups, but if I do, I'm like, okay, you are very close to this thrift store, I can stop there on my way. Kill two birds with one stone. So that is what I do. Just search a ton of terms of stuff that you would look for. So Kate Spade, Tory Burch, Rothy's, Teaks, those are all things that I've searched just to see what comes up, get an idea for prices out there. And some of those people who are listing locally, they don't understand what search words you need. So it might just say like Kate Spade purse. It might not have any color or like style name. So those ones are usually good because the people like don't know what they're worth all the time. And then finally, last question, if a buyer wants multiple things, how do I do that? So right now it's February 2022 and there's no bundling feature on Facebook Marketplace. Hopefully they do that at some point, because right now you just have to do it manually. So a buyer will message you, hey, I'm interested in this Patagonia sweatshirt and this Athleta sweatshirt and these Lululemon leggings. And I say, okay, perfect. If you want all of those, sometimes I offer them a bundle price. I can do $100 plus $9 shipping. Sometimes I don't offer them a deal. Sometimes I just say, okay, that'll be $120 and then shipping will be $9 when I combine it all, or whatever it comes out to. Sometimes they ask, can you do X amount on these items? So figure out what the total is going to be, and then you have to create a new listing with all of the items. So first I go mark each individual item as pending, so no one else buys it in the meantime. And then I create a new listing. The title is always just 3-piece bundle for, and then their first name. So for Sydney, for Amber, whoever, so that hopefully other people don't buy it like right away. And then I just upload a photo from each of the items. So if it's a 3-piece bundle, it would have 3 photos, and I just use the cover photos for each item. But on Facebook, your first cover photo cannot match another cover photo you have. So like on the first item, if it was like an Athleta sweatshirt, I would use like the second image or a picture of the back of the sweatshirt. And then the other 2 don't matter. So I do that. I put, category women's clothing, condition good. And then in the description, I put 3-piece bundle for Sydney, Athleta sweatshirt, Lululemon leggings, Patagonia sweatshirt, all size medium. And then figure out what the shipping is going to be and then I messaged the buyer back. I just created a new bundle for you, and you can purchase it through that link. It usually takes a couple minutes for the listing to be reviewed and go live. I will send you the link here when I see that it is up. So then, 5 minutes later, I check my phone. Okay, it's good. I copy the link, send it to them so that it's easy for them to find, and then they can buy it that way. And I've had no issues with that. Some people, they want to buy a ton of stuff. They don't even message me. They just hit buy now on each individual thing. They pay shipping, 7 times. And I message them, I let them know, hey, because of the way Facebook tracking is and how the payments are, I'm gonna have to ship these all individually. And usually they're like, okay, that's fine. Otherwise, they can cancel orders and you can redo everything. That does take some extra steps, but that's what you have to do. On that same note, this isn't a question that I wrote down, but it's something that I get. If a buyer needs to change their address, how do you do that? They have to cancel the order, or you have to cancel the order, and they have to buy it again. So normally I tell them that they need to cancel, because if you cancel, it can hurt your metrics on your side. And there is a way to get these appealed and reviewed and say that technically the buyer wanted to cancel, but that's just a whole long process. I don't want to waste my time on that if I don't have to. I tell them that they need to cancel. I will accept the cancellation on my end, and then they can repurchase with the correct shipping address. And that is how you get the updated shipping label, because there's no easy way right now that Facebook's done. That's something that they could definitely implement in the future, but they don't have it right now. So that is the process that they have to follow. It's not great, but it doesn't hurt your metrics that way, and you still make a sale. So all of that to say, these are some questions that I get asked a lot. If you have any other questions, leave a comment, send me a DM on Instagram. Maybe I'll make a part 2 of this if I get a lot more. But thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe, because every day I get one step closer to being monetized on YouTube. Slow and steady wins the race. So thank you for watching.